There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There is nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss. But you know one simple thing. Iran's tyrants don't care about your future, but you do. When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think, everything will be different. Our two ancient peoples, the Jewish people and the Persian people, will finally be at peace. Our two countries, Israel and Iran, will be at peace.
The move taken by our armed forces was the least punishment for the occupying Zionist regime in the face of the crimes, the unbelievable crimes committed by that regime, the bloodthirsty regime, the wolfish regime. We neither hesitate, we will not give up, but we will not rush at the same time.
اسرائیل هر گونه اقدام دیگری علیه ایران بکنه، اقدام ما از اون سخت‌تر خواهد بود و ما حتما پاسخ خواهیم داد.
و اذا اتخذ الكيان الإسرائيلي أي خطوة وإجراء ضدنا ردنا سيكون أقوى وسنرد عليه.
پاسخ ما متناسب و کاملا حساب شده خواهد.
وردنا سيكون متناسبا كاملا ومدروسا بشكل كامل.
Secretary General is very concerned about the increasingly toll on civilians that we're seeing across the immediate region. Beirut residential areas, as you know, were once again subjected to intense overnight Israeli airstrikes, apparently injuring rescue workers. Also, strikes continued unabated in other parts of Lebanon. The toll on civilians from this campaign is totally unacceptable. All parties must do whatever they can at all times to protect civilians and civilian infrastructure and ensure that civilians are never put in harm's way.
What I know is the plan that I put together received the support of the UN Security Council, the vast majority of our allies around the world, as a way to bring this to an end. Look, the Israelis have every right to respond to the vicious attacks on them, not just from the Iranians, but from everyone from Hezbollah to Houthis. Anyway, but the fact is that they have to be very much more careful about dealing with civilian casualties. There's a lot we are doing. The main thing we can do is try to rally the rest of the world and our allies into participating, like the French are in Lebanon and other places, to tamp this down. But when you have proxies as irrational as Hezbollah and the Houthis, and it's a hard thing to determine.
They asked him, "What do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran?" And he goes, "As long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff." That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that what you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I rebuilt the entire military, jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff, and I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared. But when they asked him that question, the answer should have been, hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. And that's what they should. That's what if they're going to do it.
I am here today reporting from southern Israel. 2 days before Israel is marking the anniversary of Hamas's massacre, October 7 massacre of 1,200 people and kidnapping of 251. I have with me here Avida Bahar, a survivor of that massacre who lost his son, his wife, and his leg in Hamas's October 7 massacre in Kibbutz Be'eri. Avida, why did you decide to come today?
Today we're writing for a people who's not with us anymore, and we have to remember them, and we have to writing for them. So I think that this is our mission. They stay with wishes, and we do it. It's about community, it's about bicycle, it's about people. So we remember them, and we go forward to Be'eri right now.
You know, Israel does not understand, is not committed to the international law. It has proven that it is not committed to international law. Genocide in Gaza has shown and proved to the people that Israel do not pay any attention to the human principle, ethics. So it just understands the language of force.
So they might retaliate.
Israel did not see anything in front of itself. It occupies Lebanon, in South Lebanon, even in Sabra and Shatila, inside Beirut, capital of Lebanon. They killed too many people in Sabra and Shatila camps. But when Hezbollah appeared, when Hezbollah got enough strength to push them back, they withdrew their forces from Lebanon and they went back. Of course, still there are some parts of territory of Lebanon is under occupation of Palestine, of Israel. Regarding Palestine, you know, nowadays no one could stop genocide in Gaza.
I'm saying that Iran has been investing in this machinery of war and of terror, in terrorizing not just Israel. They are responsible for killing 500,000 people in Syria. They have taken hostage the state of Lebanon. With the pretext of fighting ISIS, they have created all these militias in Iraq. They have destroyed Yemen. They have destroyed the Middle East. And they are trying to destroy the state of Israel. So what happened is that they failed. They failed colossally because two of their main proxies in the region were defeated by Israel, and now they find themselves having at last to fight themselves, and they are failing. They might have more missiles, but whoever is the aggressor must pay a price. And I'm very glad that many countries around the world have condemned what Iran has been doing. And I'm sure we're going to find a way to send a clear message to this fanatical regime that we will not bear. They made a very big mistake.
The one party who is against every political settlement is the terrorist state of Israel. Israel has always refused the political solution and has always resorted to military measurements. What happened recently, if we want to talk directly on the current situation, is that, yes, Lebanon has been working with international powers for a ceasefire on the Lebanese front and to kind of separate it from Gaza front. And there has been with the good offices of France and the USA even and some other European powers, there has been a kind of draft agreement for a ceasefire, ceasing of hostilities. But there was a kind of plot because even our minister mentioned it that late Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah himself agreed to a ceasefire. But then the assassination happened and a kind of breach of trust. Then the whole situation went to square zero.
Shivarur explains how the Iran-Israel war has escalated in the last few days.
Remember that one of the big questions that a lot of people have been asking when they talk about the certainty of an Israeli response against Iran for that missile strike is what could Israel possibly target in Iran? And in that discussion, one of the things that keeps coming up are Iran's nuclear facilities. Their nuclear facilities where they enrich uranium and create weapons-grade uranium for a possible nuclear weapon at some point of time could be on target. But the question is, can Israel credibly target Iran's nuclear facilities? Let's do a reality check on that. First of all, point number one to consider, Iran's nuclear sites, at least the ones that Israel would probably want to target, are at least 2,000 kilometers, about 1,000 miles away from Israel's air bases, which means that Israeli fighter aircraft and bomber aircraft would definitely need some kind of aerial refueling in order to just get to those areas to conduct that kind of airstrike, which means that Israeli aircraft would need to overfly many, many hostile countries, possibly Saudi Arabia, Syria, Lebanon, and others, in order to even reach, a country like Iran. So that's sovereign airspace. That's, of course, a completely different complication. Let's assume that the aircraft from Israel have been able to cross those obstacles. They still have to enter Iranian airspace, and Iran has its own air defense shield. They've got ground weapons, they've got surface-to-air missiles, they've got air defense weaponry on the ground. So no Israeli fighter or bomber would be able to enter Iran uncontested, unmolested, and therefore even reaching any of those nuclear sites would be very, very difficult. Remember that in order to offset the possible damage to at least some of these aircraft from that hostility that Iran would show, Israel would theoretically need to send a large number of aircraft. A Financial Times report says even 100 aircraft would probably need to be sent. Now, Iran's Natanz nuclear site, the biggest nuclear enrichment facility of Iran and part of its nuclear program, is actually situated hundreds of meters below the ground. It's a subterranean facility and it's not on the surface of the earth, so it's deep underground. And Iran's Fordow facility actually happens to be in a dig out in a mountain, so it's basically inside a mountain, so hugely protected by many, many tens of hundreds of meters of earth. Now, Israel does not have the kind of bomb, perhaps the only kind of bomb that can penetrate, tens of meters of earth in order to destroy something that's buried deep beneath, like a nuclear facility. Israel doesn't have the only weapon that is theoretically capable of doing that. It's called the GBU-57A/B, the MOP, the Massive Ordnance Penetrator. Israel doesn't have that weapon, and even if it had that weapon, it doesn't have aircraft that can carry that weapon and deliver it in a credible way. So, all in all, just to summarize, Israel could probably, in a very, very perfect scenario, if they're able to cross all the obstacles and negate all of the different hurdles that I've highlighted here, they would probably be able to damage some of the structures at these nuclear facilities, but they wouldn't be able to destroy them, not even come close to it. So this is very important to note.